Final score tonight here in Denver. The Nuggets win 119-115. And the Warriors' losing streak is now 5. And they have 3 tough home games upcoming against Houston and Minnesota to try to right themselves and get themselves out of this funk. And it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, Tim Roy is absolutely right. It's not going to be easy. The Warriors are making it difficult on themselves right now. 5 straight losses. This one, 119-115 in Denver. A game the Warriors had in the bag. It felt like it. Welcome into Warriors Wrap-Up. Mark Randy with you on 95.7 The Game. That was rough. That was rough. The Warriors led by 11 points, 109-98 with 6 minutes and 10 seconds left in this basketball game. They get outscored 21-6 the rest of the way. They led by 6, 115-109 with 2.5 left to go. They get outscored 11-0 over the final 2.5. You do not score over the final 2.5, and you ultimately lose 119-115. It was ugly. And we'll get into all of it coming up here shortly on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Again, welcome in. Mark Randy with you. And first things first, I want to open it up to you guys because this is as frustrating of a loss as the Warriors have had all year. And we're now looking at 5 consecutive losses. And to a certain degree, all 5 have been relatively frustrating. Specifically tonight, the one in San Antonio, although you can understand that it was the back end of a back-to-back on the road, the Brooklyn home game, that one was very frustrating as well, considering that's a team that you should beat, and you had a big lead in the second half. You let it slip away. Oklahoma City at home, very good team, and you were without Steph. Okay, you get it. Phoenix on the road, KD's back. That's a very good team. Okay, you get it. This takes the cake. Warriors had this game, again, leading by 11 with 6.5 or 6:10 left, and you get outscored 21-6 the rest of the way. You led by 6 with 2.5 left. You do not score, and Denver scores 11 in those 2.5 minutes, and you lose by 4 points. And it's just poor execution. It's poor decision making. And we're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up in a little bit here on Warriors Wrap Up. I know he spent a lot of time post game talking about the officiating. And there is plenty of room to be upset by the officiating in this game as well. Steve Kerr was also on the money, and you will hear it later on when he said, okay, but that was not the reason that we lost. And he is 100% right about that. You had an 11-point lead with 6.5 left. You shouldn't lose that game under any circumstances. That was one of the ugliest final 6 minutes I've seen the Warriors play in a really, really long time. And for what was an awesome effort for the most part through 3.5 quarters. I mean, you respond to a crazy Denver rally in the third quarter after you open the half on a nice little run. Denver forces turnovers, and they get to the free throw line. And they end up just kind of running away with things in the third, and it kind of felt like it was snowballing, and eventually it was going to be too big of a deficit for the Warriors to come back from. But then they come back to open up the fourth quarter, and they absolutely flip the script on the Nuggets. They start the fourth on a 19-3 run over the first 4.5 minutes of the fourth. And a big part of this, honestly, and we got to credit Steve Kerr for this, the change Steph Curry rotation. Again, no Draymond Green tonight, which means a new starting lineup. And there's also been talk from Stephen Curry and from Steve Kerr himself about maybe shortening the rotation a little bit or at least changing it up. And that would have been the case with or without Draymond Green. And the adjustment was when a new starting lineup, no Trace Jackson-Davis starting either. It was Steph Curry, Brandon Podziemski, then Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Kevon Looney starting. But the adjustment for Steph Curry was simplify. It wasn't always this exactly to a T, but essentially 4 minutes to begin a quarter, 4 minutes to end a quarter. So he would play 4 minutes, sit 4. Play 4 minutes, and then he would begin the next quarter by playing as well, then sit 4, then play 4, and then going into the fourth quarter would play the first 4, would sit the next 4, and then would play the final 4. And what happened in that fourth quarter when the Warriors opened that quarter, and at that point they were down 6 going into the fourth, Steph Curry on the floor to begin the fourth, which generally does not happen for Steph Curry. And Nikola Jokic is on the bench, and the Warriors take advantage, a 19-3 run to begin the fourth quarter, and they build the 10-point lead. That put the lead to 104-94 with 7.5 left in the fourth quarter. Again, it got to 109-98 about a minute and a half later, and then a 21-6 Denver run. It all went downhill from there, and the Warriors could not get back any sort of rhythm or momentum that they had on the offensive end, and Denver was getting to the line at will. Jokic was hitting jumpers, a couple of big buckets from Aaron Gordon, some big free throws from him as well. He was very good in this basketball game, but the final 6 minutes, man, that was ugly for the Warriors tonight. Okay, so the Warriors lose 119-115. It's their 5th consecutive loss. The Warriors now 13-7 on the season, and all 5 of these losses, San Antonio, Brooklyn, Oklahoma City, Phoenix, and Denver, those 5 consecutive losses, all clutch games. What that means is it was a ball game at some point down the stretch. Essentially, it means it was a 5-point game or less, 5-point or less game in the final 5 minutes of regulation, which means not all of those clutch games are created equal, right? Like the Phoenix clutch game isn't quite this clutch game because Phoenix had a double-digit lead for the majority of the game, and you managed to kind of sneak back into it really late, but you never really felt like you had a great shot to win that basketball game. The larger point, though, 5 straight losses. They were all competitive games, and 3 of those losses, you blow a double-digit lead late in the basketball game. You led by 17. You led by 18 against San Antonio and Brooklyn in the third quarter. You lead by 11 with 6.5 to go in the fourth quarter tonight. You lose all 3 of those games. Even if you keep the Oklahoma City loss and you keep the Phoenix loss, you could be looking at a Warriors team that instead of 13-7 could be 16-4. How much better does that sound than 13-7? And that's the difference in the Warriors looking like one of the NBA's best teams and looking like this team, which frankly right now, I mean, of course, the last 5 does not look good at all. It looks terrible, but 13-7 still not bad, but it's kind of middle of the pack in the Western Conference. Like you look at the standings right now with the Warriors at 13-7, and the Warriors, at 12-8, the Warriors are now out of the top 6, and they're in the play-in. 12-8 are the Warriors now, and they're in the play-in tournament. They're the 7 seed. So like that is a major, major difference for the Golden State Warriors, and it's what haunted them last year, right? The Warriors a season ago played the most clutch games in the NBA, 48 of them, and they were just 500. And we spent, countless hours last year throughout the season talking about how, well, if just, 3 games went their way down the stretch, that didn't. And some of them were the Denver games. By the way, the numbers on the Warriors versus the Nuggets, I have them here for you. I'll find them and I'll read them to you. Absolute insanity. And I think it perfectly encapsulates what last season was and what this season kind of feels like it's trending toward. The Nuggets now have won 11 of the last 12 meetings against the Warriors, including 8 in a row. Now 8 of the last 10 meetings between these two teams have been decided by 6 points or fewer, including 3 games last year and this game here. There was that one game at Chase Center where Jokic hit like the buzzer-beating banked-in 3 from just inside a half court. Like it always feels like the Warriors have a chance to pick up an awesome win against a really good Western Conference foe when they play Denver, and they have it. It's within their grasp, and then they let it slip away. That feels like the story of this series. You have now lost against the Denver Nuggets. Again, you have now lost 8 consecutive games, and 8 of the last 10 against the Nuggets, including, the bunch of the ones that you've lost consecutively, 8 of those consecutive losses, but 8 of the last 10 have been decided by 6 points or fewer. 3 last year, and this one so far this year. Frustrating. It feels like we've been through this before, and these last 5 losses, again, you can maybe point to a couple of reasons for some of them, but the San Antonio loss, the Nets loss, this loss, it feels a lot like last year. It really does. And we got to couch it all with Draymond wasn't available tonight. We know that, and we know still how valuable he is to this Warrior team, and we get that, and you're on the road. It's a hostile environment, and you're at elevation, but that does not excuse the execution down the stretch for the Golden State Warriors. It was bad. It was really, really bad. You led, again, by 11 points with 6:10 to go, and you led by 6 points with 2:30 to go, and Denver goes on an 11-0 run. It was a Jokic bucket. Murray made free throws, a Jokic jumper. Gordon made free throws. Jokic made free throws, and you don't score at all. And there was one particular moment. There was a number of them, but one that really stood out to me was after Denver had even taken the lead. They go up 2, 117-115 with 45 seconds left. Warriors have the ball. It's a picture-perfect opportunity to go 2 for 1, right? You go 2 for 1, even if you miss the first opportunity you get, you're only down 2, and there's more than 24 seconds left, which means Denver can't kill the clock. You just get a stop. You go down, you get a bucket, you force OT, you hit a 3, and you win. You should get 2 shot attempts to Denver's 1. You should get 2 possessions to Denver's 1. And what do the Warriors do? You kind of got nothing going offensively. Essentially, the ball ends up finding itself on the left wing with Jonathan Kuminga. The shot clock is running down. I'm sure in the huddle before that, Steve Kerr is saying, got to go 2 for 1. Ideally, we want to shoot like 30 seconds on the clock at the latest, but like 32 is kind of the sweet spot because, you want to have enough time to get a good shot, but you also don't want to wait too long because you want to give yourself opportunities on the next possession to have enough time to go out and try to get another quality shot. So somewhere around 32. And the ball cycles out to Kuminga with around 35 seconds left. Nobody's doing anything. Everybody's standing around. So, if I'm Jonathan Kuminga, I've got to try to get a bucket. I got Jokic on me. I'm going to try to drive, put my head down, drive around the big guy and get a bucket. To Jokic's credit, and, Kuminga not able to really get around him. Jokic blocked the shot. The Warriors saved it, and they gained the possession back with like 32 seconds left. And then still absolutely no push to try to get a shot up quick. Wiggins along the right wing tries to dribble in, slips, loses the ball. The Nuggets recover. That was when Christian Braun was on the deck diving for it, and the Warriors claim he was calling a timeout. Looking at the replay, he did some motion with his hands. I don't know if it was entirely the timeout signal, but they didn't have a timeout left. If he was trying to call a timeout, that should be a technical foul, a Warriors free throw, and possession of the ball, which who knows, might have allowed the Warriors to win the basketball game. And I'm focused less on what happened there when Brown's on the court trying to call a timeout or not. I don't want to speculate on what was going on. It's more about the execution offensively for the Warriors. And that's just one moment. You try to go 2 for 1, and you end up kind of having to force Jonathan Kuminga to take a drive against a 7-footer, which, he had beaten Jokic on the dribble a couple of times, didn't that time. And then there's no urgency to try to get a shot off and save the 2 for 1 opportunity. So instead, you turn it over, you foul Jokic, he makes both free throws, 4-point game essentially over, and the rest is history. It was frustrating for the Warriors. Okay, let's go out to the phone lines here as we continue on Warriors Wrap-Up. We're just getting started. Mark Randy with you as the Dubs lose their 5th consecutive game, all in the clutch. The Warriors now 12-8 on the season. For a season that started off so good, the Warriors now looking at a 12-8 record, which is 7th best. Technically tied for 6th with Phoenix, but they got the tiebreaker on you. You are the 7th seed in the Western Conference right now. You were leading the West before this losing streak. 888-957-9570. That's the number. It's also the Comcast Business text line. Give me a call. 888-957-9570. Up first is Adam in San Jose. Adam, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Mark Randy. How you doing, Adam?
Good, thank you. Hey, I don't care how good Kuminga was up until the fourth quarter. If he cannot close out a game, he doesn't deserve to be here. On that second-to-last play that you were talking about, down 2 with Kuminga possession of the ball, I want to say he got the ball when there was more than 3 seconds left, but he had Steph wide open on the right wing begging for the ball. He's trying to get Kuminga's attention. Kuminga finally looks up and sees him, ignores him, puts his head down, drives to the basket, and tries to go over Jokic, and his shot gets blocked. Kuminga. I want to talk a little bit about Kuminga. Anytime Kuminga has the ball in his hands, he has one focus and one focus only, and that's to drive to the basket at 99 speed and try to get to the rim. He could have the greatest shooter of all time, Steph Curry, wide open in the corner. He'll ignore it, and he's laser focused to get to the rim, to attack the basket. And most of the time, either he misses or he gets his shot blocked. He looks at the ref, starts crying for a foul while everybody's already on the other side of the court. And then when he does get the free throw, he misses free throws. What is Kuminga good for? And 3-point shots. I know tonight he only took 2, made 1 of 2, but he loves to take 3-point shots, and he's the worst 3-point shooter on the team. For the love of God, somebody's got to tell him to stop. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Adam. I'm watching the play right now that you're referencing, and the one that I was talking about earlier. The Jonathan Kuminga drive on that 2-for-1 opportunity that I was talking about. Let me bring it up and I'll watch it in real time here as we talk through it. So he catches the ball on the left wing with 37 seconds left, and Adam saying Steph Curry wide open on the right wing. Not entirely. Jamal Murray is cutting off the passing lane from Kuminga to Curry, and that looks like, who is that defensively that's there? That is Michael Porter Jr., who is cutting out to guard Steph. He's allowing Kyle Anderson to run down the floor almost untouched. Maybe the better pass would have been to a cutting slow-mo, but you've got the 7-footer Jokic standing right on top of him. That's a hard pass to get through. Adam, I don't agree that Steph Curry was wide open. Now, in a pinch, what's the best thing any player on the Warriors can do? Yeah, probably give the ball to Steph Curry. But honestly, with 37 seconds left, you want to try to get up a shot to save the 2-for-1 opportunity. You got a 7-footer and no one else on you. Try to drive. Now, maybe once you don't get past him, don't try to force up a shot when the 7-footer's still in front of you, and that's when you could have tried something. Like, it's worth the try. I don't mind Kuminga driving at all. But once you don't beat him and you're trying to elevate over a 7-footer, and I know Jokic is not the most athletic guy. In fact, he's one of the least athletic guys in the NBA. And he's not a great rim protector, and he's not winning awards for his defense. I know all of that. But once you get beat, you probably shouldn't try to challenge the 7-footer. And maybe that's when you pick up your dribble, look for help, or you just dribble back out to the 3-point line in the corner and you kind of reset. But again, you kind of are under pressure from the clock because you want to get 2 possessions there. So, I mean, we can, I don't know, try to argue any single decision that a single player made. Bottom line, it shouldn't have come down to that spot. And I thought Kuminga, honestly, he had himself a really good basketball game tonight. And we can talk more about that. Now, that last moment, getting his shot blocked, down 2 with 35 seconds left, that's a low light of the night for Jonathan Kuminga, no doubt. It's not close to a highlight, and he had a lot of highlights. We'll talk about him a little bit later. I don't want this to be a game where Jonathan Kuminga's last play overshadows everything else he did, because I thought he was very good in this basketball game, specifically in the first half. Not saying he was perfect all game long, because clearly he wasn't. No one on the Warriors was. But I thought he had a really, really good first half, and we can get into that a little bit more later. Was that last play, the drive and the take against Jokic, a bad play? Yes. He got a shot blocked, down 2 with 35 seconds left. That's not ideal. But I don't want that to overshadow everything else that he did well in this basketball game. And I'm not trying to make a case for moral victories for Jonathan Kuminga. That's not what this is. It's just honest, truthful watching the basketball game. I thought Kuminga had himself a good basketball game. The fourth quarter, that play specifically, not great. There's no denying that. Okay, let's keep going on the phone lines. Mark Randy with you on a Warriors wrap-up. The Dubs fall to the Nuggets 119-115. They found a way to lose this basketball game. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. This was a game that they had. They led by 11 with about 6 to go. They led by 6 with 2.5 to go. Denver closes on a 21-6 run over the final 6:10. They close on an 11-0 run over the final 2:30, and the Warriors have now lost 5 consecutive games. Up next is Big Smoove in Oakland as we continue to try to talk through this. What's up, Big Smoove? You're on 95.7 The Game. It's Warriors Wrap-Up. How you doing?
I'm having nightmares. Man, listen. Kuminga played a pretty good game. But did anybody see with a 9-point lead, it was 6 minutes something stretch, Podziemski had a horrible series of plays. 9-point lead, he sails a turnover over Will Chamberlain's head, Banu Bull's head. Then right after that, he launches a three quickly. Didn't even let the ball go around. He just felt like, hey, I'm going to hit a three. Misses badly. Then he fouls a guy at the 3-point line, gives him 3 shots. Listen, man, we got to stop acting like this guy is way better than what he is. Yeah, he hustles. We'll give you that. He hustles. He stops. He pivots 10 times. But he is, if you watch him, he was minus 13, by the way. But if you watch him, why is Moody fighting for time and Podziemski just, I don't get it, man. This has to be addressed. Podziemski is having a horrible year. Will he get better? I hope. Hustles the ball. Yeah, he'll hustle. He'll get the long rebounds. But outside from that, dude, that was a horrible stretch. 9-point lead, 2 bad series, and then he fouled the guy at the 3-point line. And after that, the game went downhill from that. If you go back and look at that, after that series with Podziemski, they snatched him out of there, put Steph in. But after that, the game went downhill. They had a 9-point lead. 9-point lead.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Big Smooth. I mean, you are absolutely spot on. It was definitely not Podziemski's best moment this year. And, I mean, he hasn't had a ton of great moments. There's no doubt. And there's been, I think, a little bit of a shift for Podziemski, because I think maybe the first 7 games of the year, the Warriors were obviously playing really good basketball, but around maybe the first 7, maybe the first 8, I mean, the shooting hasn't been there all year, essentially. But even when the shooting wasn't there early in the year, again, maybe the first 7 games or so, he was still doing all the other stuff well. He was taking care of the ball. He was drawing charges. He was getting his hands in passing lanes, and as Big Smooth pointed out with the plus minus, he was generally still positive almost every single night, which is a continuation of what happened last year. But what has happened for Podziemski over the last 10, maybe the last 12 games is, 1, the shot still isn't there. And 2, all the little things aren't quite working as well. It's a poor turnover. It's a bad decision. It's driving into the lane and instead of taking a layup, it's kicking out to an open shooter. It's all of the small things that he had been doing, which would keep him as a positive influence, despite the shot not working. Those are suddenly kind of disappearing too. And whether it's him pressing because he is struggling to shoot the ball, maybe he's getting in his own head, and there was the whole Draymond Green press conference where he talked for almost 5 uninterrupted minutes about how it's the media's fault that Podziemski is struggling and pressing because they put all this pressure on him after he had such a good rookie year. I'm not so sure that's a media thing. It's more so just the reality of you're all on the all rookie team, and your owner at Summer League says, yeah, we view this guy as a future all-star, and we're not going to trade for Lauri Markkanen because we don't want to give up Brandon Podziemski. That's kind of team forced pressure. That's a lot to live up to. And you start the season struggling to shoot. That would probably get to my head too. Now, it's not at all. Don't take this as excuses for Podziemski, because that stretch that Big Smooth is talking about, oh my God, one of the worst stretches that Brandon Podziemski has had in his career. I have all the video up right here. Up by 9, just under 6 to go. He lets the ball roll up off over a half court to kill a little bit of time. Gives a pick and roll with Trayce Jackson-Davis, and then a one-handed, left-handed kind of scoop pass to Wiggins in the right corner from the left wing, and it goes, 5 feet over Wiggins' head and into the 4th row of seats in the right corner. Terrible, terrible play. But the Warriors get a stop. Then the next offensive possession, and this isn't entirely on Podziemski. This is more so just Warriors' lack of execution offensively, specifically without Steph Curry on the ball or on the court. You got Podziemski, Moody, Wiggins, Slow-Mo, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Shot clock is running down. Podziemski has the ball deep right wing, and he's kind of forced to take a step back 3. It misses. That one is maybe less on him specifically and more on lack of overall execution, he had to take a deep 3 because the shot clock was running out. Still not good, and of course he missed it. And then the next one was on that same play after the defensive rebound on his missed three. It is Aaron Gordon dribbling up the floor, passes left wing to Michael Porter Jr. Wiggins and Podziemski combine on a late closeout, and Podziemski, just careless, lands on top of Michael Porter Jr., who hits the three. Podziemski called for the foul, a 9-point lead is suddenly a 5-point lead. And that was where the run really began for the Denver Nuggets. I mean, it was already beginning a little bit, but up by 9 with 5:10 to go. 4-point play really swung the basketball game. Okay, got to take a break. When we come back, I see you on hold, Shaka and Mark. We're coming to you guys on the other side. We're just getting started. It's Warriors wrap-up. The Dubs lose again. It's their 5th consecutive loss. They're now 12-8 on the year. We got more Warriors wrap-up next on 95.7 The Game.
from the sideline. Jamal Murray had no chance. Anybody else on the planet, it's a bad shot. But Curry, it's 3 points.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Oh, that was a rough one. Warriors lose in Denver 119-115. That's now 5 consecutive losses. All have been in clutch time. And you could easily make a case the Warriors should have won 3 of these 5. Maybe should have is the wrong word. They put themselves in position to win all 3 of those games in San Antonio, at home against Brooklyn, and then tonight in Denver. And then they just could not execute offensively down the stretch, and some defensively as well. And maybe you run into a hot team, Dennis Schroeder and the Nets, right? They were just shooting the cover off the ball. But you had opportunities to win all 3 of those games, and instead you lose all 3 of them, and instead of being something like 15-5, you're 12-8. Like that's how quickly things can change. And this is the story of last year, right? Like, it's the conversation we had endlessly last year. If only this Warriors team could put a couple more plays together down the stretch of these games instead of going 24-24 in clutch games. Could you imagine if they were 27-21, 3 more wins? Like, that's the difference between being in the play-in and being out of the play-in. You add a couple more. That's the difference in being a top 4 seed in the Western Conference and hosting a postseason series, being the home team, having home court advantage. Like, these are the things that haunted the Warriors last year. And while the start to the year, the 12-3 beginning, kind of felt like we were past that, these last 5 games have brought all those same feelings and thoughts and concerns back. Like, these last 5 games have felt largely what last year has felt like. And obviously there's some differences. It's not exactly the same, but it's the same kind of story. It's turnovers. It's fouling. Opponents getting to the free throw line. That's what saved Denver in the third quarter. In the third quarter, let's see, where is it? Denver used turnovers and free throws in the third quarter to hurt the Warriors. Warriors committed 8 turnovers in the third quarter alone. The Warriors in this game as a whole committed 15. 15 is too many, but it's not a terrible amount. Like, if you're around 12 or 13, you'll take that. So 15 is not necessarily like a game-breaking number. You'd want to be better, but the Warriors have won a lot of basketball games while committing 15 turnovers. But you can't have 8 in a single quarter. 8 in the third quarter. It led to 10 Denver points. Denver, by the way, not great at forcing turnovers, but they are elite at turning their forced turnovers into points. They did that in this basketball game. Points off turnovers were 22-13 in favor of Denver, but the turnovers were equal. Both teams committed 15 turnovers. Denver, though, turned those 15 into 22 points. The Warriors turned their 15 into only 13 points. Difference of 9 points in a game you lose by 4. That's a big deal. What about the free throw line? First of all, specifically in the third quarter, Denver, 17 free throw attempts in the third quarter. They got up 35 in the game to the Warriors 21. Warriors getting up 21 in a game is actually a pretty good number, but your opponent shoots 35 and they make 28 of them. And 17 of their attempts came in the third quarter. That's what got Denver back into this basketball game. And then to the Warriors' credit, they bounced back and they came out roaring in the fourth quarter. Again, they began the fourth quarter on a 19-3 run. They turned a 6-point deficit into a 10-point lead 4.5 minutes into the fourth. And then all hell broke loose again. It really was a game of runs in the second half. Denver puts a run together. After the Warriors put a little bit of one together to begin the third, Denver puts a run together to close the third. And then the Warriors, they come back and they dominate early in the fourth, and then it's all Denver for the final 6 minutes. It was a back and forth, and ultimately Denver gets the best because they closed the final 6-10 on a 21-6 run and an 11-0 run over the final 2:30. The offensive execution is just bad for the Warriors right now, late games. It is hard to say anything other than that. Okay, let's go back out to the phone lines here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We also will hear from Coach Steve Kerr coming up in just a little bit. The number to call and also the the Comcast Business text line is 888-957-9570. Up next, as promised, it's Shaka who's standing by in Berkeley. Shaka, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. How you doing, Shaka?
Man, I'm doing bad, man, just watching that, man. We got the best closer in the NBA, man, and he don't even get a shot. It's a lot of blame going on. Let me just break down what I saw. First, Podziemski. That was bad, man, for him to throw the ball out of bounds, come back down, shoot a three-pointer, then foul the guy, then walks to the bench like he, the body language was disturbing me. That was soft basketball. Soft. Wiggins get the ball. He falls on his own. He's right. They would have to break my arm to get that ball. I would have a jump ball. As you know, did you stay on the ground? The other guy does a somersault and hustle. They're hustling. They're trying to win. And Kuminga, I always speak highly of Kuminga because I know he's young, man. And but the closing part of that game, Steph hits him with a dime. He tries to double human highlight stuff. Get to the basket, get a dunk. Everything doesn't have to be the Dominic Connie Hawkins type of stuff. Let's get a basket when we need a basket. And Wiggins that was heartless, man. And I'm tired of it, man. I always call here talking about Brandon Ingram. I want a tough basketball player to be ready to go to the Bulls. I want to win. I want Steph to win right now. This is for Steph. I want Dre and him to win. That's why we love Dre, because he got hard. We don't care if he had 10 points, if he had 40 points. He got hard, and he ain't let nobody smash on him. They got smashed on, man. And the thing about it is, it's like nobody cares. But Kerr cussed somebody out before the game was over. But they got to start cussing somebody out, man. That's all I got, man.
I appreciate the call, Shaka, and I'm feeling you, and I think a lot of Warrior fans are feeling you. I'm seeing some love for the caller, Shaka, on the Comcast Business text line right now. Shout out to the 415 tuning in. They feel you, Shaka, and I think you're speaking to a lot of Warrior fans right now. I mean, you name-dropped a couple of guys. We already talked about Brandon Podziemski. There's no hiding that this was a bad game for him. I honestly thought he started the game kind of all right. I mean, he was picking his spots, getting a couple shots to go, was moving the ball around early, but the rest of the game wasn't great for Brandon Podziemski, including the end of that basketball game. Shaka mentioned Andrew Wiggins. That was not a great game from Andrew Wiggins. I mean, 13 points, 3 of 7 from the field. Minus 20, Andrew Wiggins, minus 20 in the plus-minus. So much of what the Warriors were doing to begin the year was on the backs of Andrew Wiggins, and it was Buddy Hield. Like, you know what you're going to get from Steph on any given night, right? And Steph, 24 tonight, he was a little bit more of a volume shooter, but he had 11 assists, 7 rebounds. Like, Steph does what Steph does. And in the game that you lose, he was a positive in the plus-minus. That's just what happens with Steph. You know what you're going to get with Steph. But what was the difference between early in the season and now, the last 5 games? Wiggins hasn't been playing as well. Buddy Hield hasn't been playing as well. Podziemski hasn't been playing as well, right? It's the others. Like, the guys that were helping the Warriors big time earlier in the season, they're just not helping them as much right now. And when you get that and you pair it with the fact that Draymond Green is out and that you're going up against the best player in the NBA, Nikola Jokic, who had 38 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and it was kind of like a ho-hum 38 from Jokic, which is crazy. You need more. You needed more from Wiggins. You needed more from Podziemski. You needed more from Buddy Hield. I mean, Hield 6 points in 21 and a half minutes, 2 of 8 from downtown, 2 of 8 from the field, 2 of 6 from downtown. He missed the most wide open 3 maybe any Warrior player has had all season long, late in the fourth quarter from the right wing. You make that 3, you probably win this basketball game. Like, sometimes it's just, are you making your open shots or are you not? And lately, Hield hasn't been. There's a lot that is not going right for the Warriors, and it's kind of spread out between like 3 or 4 different guys. And tonight it was Wiggins, it was Podziemski, it was Hield. You could even throw out maybe Kyle Anderson, although you don't really need scoring from Kyle Anderson, and he was good elsewhere today. Trace Jackson Davis, I mean, he's got to figure out how to finish around the rim. We can talk about that a little bit later. Moses Moody, though, a hell of a second half. Scoreless, 0 for 3 from the field in the first half. 13 points, 4 for 7 from the field in the second half. And it got to the point where Steve Kerr was bringing him in offense, defense with Gary Payton down the stretch. Gary Payton was awesome, by the way. 11 points for GP2 in 14 minutes. And in a game that you lose by 4, he was a plus 18 in the plus minus. That is ridiculous. Gary Payton II was awesome. But when you don't have Draymond and you're a team like the Warriors who don't really have that consistent, legitimate number 2 scorer, you need like your number 3 and 4 and 5 to chip in almost every single night. And when Wiggins and Podziemski and Hield aren't, it can be rough. It can be rough. Now, you shot 46% from the field, but all the little things went against you specifically late in this basketball game. Okay, we're going to hear from Coach Kerr in a second, but let's go back out to the phone lines. Mark in Berkeley has been waiting patiently. Again, the number to call and the Comcast Business text line, 888-957-9570. Mark, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. How you doing?
I just think the free throw situation is killing us. Not only are we not getting the line, and we can't do anything about that. They cheat us. We know that. But we need to make more free throws. And if they can't shoot them, they need to get someone in there to teach them how to shoot like Rick Barry, underhanded. Everybody can do that. Everybody that's tried it has gone up from 50% to 80%, everyone he trained. And the other thing is we need somebody, like the last guy just said, somebody that can close the game, a dominant scorer that can get in the lane and get fouled and go to the free throw line at the end of the game. All the other good teams have a player like that. And Curry's not quite big enough. We need a dominant player, and we need to put a defensive team in at the end of the game and concentrate on defense. We don't do that. We just run and shoot, and you can't win like that. Just doesn't work. Earlier in the year, we were using a bigger rotation too. What happened to that? We can wear these teams out. They don't have backup players like we our whole team is good. We should use more players, and we should shoot. And Jerry Stackhouse should get these guys to practice their free throws or something. I don't get it. There's no excuse for not making free throws.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, I hear you on the free throw shooting. The Warriors got to the line a lot today, but you were 15 for 21. That's 71%. Frankly, that's just not good enough. Denver got to the line 35 times. They made 28 of them. That's 80%. That is good enough. They outscored the Warriors by 13 points at the free throw line. They outscored the Warriors by 9 points on points off of turnovers. Fast break points, the Nuggets, one of the best fast break teams in the NBA, 25-11 in favor of Denver. The one area where the Warriors actually controlled the game was on the glass in the second chance points category. Denver only 3 second chance points. In this basketball game, they had only 4 offensive rebounds. The Warriors, 11 offensive rebounds. That led to 12 second chance points. Denver, 4 offensive rebounds that led to 3 second chance points. But all the other hustle stat categories, won by the Nuggets. And that's a big reason why the Warriors lost this basketball game. Okay, Steve Kerr was pretty fired up postgame. Let's hear from the coach. This is Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. The Dubs fall to the Nuggets 119-115. They led by as many as 11 with 6:10 to go in the fourth quarter. Denver closes on a 21-6 run. The Warriors led by 6 with 2.5 to go. Denver closed on an 11-0 run, and the Warriors lose by 4. It's their 5th consecutive loss, and after a 12-3 start to this year, they're now 12-8, and it is no longer sunshine and rainbows in Dub Nation. After that 12-3 start, it felt like the Warriors had figured something out, but the last 5 games, it feels an awful lot like last season. Okay, here is Coach Steve Kerr after his team's loss. I believe this begins with him complaining about the officials down the tail end of this basketball game when the Warriors thought that Christian Braun diving for a loose ball had signaled a timeout. Denver did not have a timeout left, so if he indeed was signaling for a timeout, that should be a technical foul on Denver, a free throw for the Warriors, and possession of the basketball. And at that point, down by 4 with only a few seconds left, if you get a technical free throw and the ball, you have a chance to tie it and force overtime. So a big no call there. That's how this begins. A lot from Steve Kerr postgame. Here is the Warriors head coach, Steve Kerr, after his team's 119-115 loss to the Nuggets today in Denver. Here's the coach.
Brown called a timeout. He dove on the floor. He rolled over. Everybody saw it except for the 3 guys we hire to do the games, and that makes me angry. This is that's a technical foul. They don't have a timeout left. It's a technical foul. We shoot a free throw. We get the ball. We got a chance to win the game. They all told me they didn't see it. He dives on the floor and rolls over, and he goes timeout. It's up to the referees to see. That's why we have 3 of them. Somebody's got to see it. So that made me mad. With that said, that's not why we lost. We lost because we didn't close again. It's like the 5th game in a row where we've, maybe not all 5, but most of these games in this stretch, we're not closing. We're not executing. We're not making good decisions, and it's got to improve.
It was an 11-0 run. Are you mostly blaming this on the offense?
Yeah. We turned it over a couple times. But, the fouling 3-point shooter, they shot 35 free throws. So I thought we played a hell of a game for the most part, and guys played their asses off. They're competing and they're trying. But we can't send them to the line 35 times. And so I think we're trying too hard. I think, guys are closing out and they're closing out without any discernment about what's about to happen. You got to close out and challenge, close out to the side. If a guy makes a shot, he makes a shot. But we can't send a team to the line 35 times and expect to win a game against a great team. So we got a lot to work on. Proud of the guys for their effort. We had a lot of guys who really, came up big, played well. But if we're going to be a good team, and I think we can be, we've got to learn to execute and close games.
What did you notice from the third quarter with the turnovers?
I think what happened was, I looked at the stat sheet. 4 minutes left in the second quarter. We had 18 assists and 1 turnover. We might have had 1 more for a shot clock violation, but only 1 miscue because we were hitting singles. And then we turned it over 3 or 4 times in the last few minutes of the first half and gave up a 12-point lead because we tried to hit home runs. And this league is unforgiving. If you think you're going to, get on a highlight reel, show everybody, what a special play you can make, it's going to be a turnover. We got to hit singles. We got to make simple decisions, and when we do that, we're really good. But when we try too hard, try to make plays on our own, we get into trouble, and that's why we ended up with 15 turnovers in a game where we had 1 through 20 minutes of the game. So I didn't feel like they were forced by the defense either. No offense to Denver, but I'm going to look at those turnovers, and I might see 1 or 2, but almost all of them are unforced. And so, part of being a good team is decision making. It can't just be about talent or whether you make shots or not. It's got to be about decision making. We have to become a better decision making team. And, that's what's frustrating right now is poor decisions are leading to poor possessions, which is leading to this losing streak. So that's what's happening.
That's Steve Kerr. That's some of what Steve Kerr said. I'm going to react to that here in just a second. There was a portion of Steve Kerr's postgame presser that we did not get to hear there. I'm going to play that for you now. Cam, just make sure my hotkey channel is up in the back there. Steve Kerr talking about Brandon Podziemski specifically. We talked a little bit about Podziemski. He had that stretch where Warriors up by, what was it? Up by 9, I believe, with about 6 minutes to go. Yeah, up 9 with like 6 minutes left. He commits a wild turnover on a wayward pass, a one-handed wraparound hook pass to Wiggins in the right corner that sails way over his head. Next offensive possession, kind of late shot clock. I don't really blame this one on him that much, but late shot clock. And takes a step back 3, well beyond the line, misses. And then on the ensuing Denver possession, he fouls after a late closeout. He fouls Michael Porter Jr. On a 3-point shot. Michael Porter Jr. makes the 3, hits the free throw. Suddenly a 9-point lead is down to a 5-point lead. Denver has all the momentum, and the Warriors never really recover. Now, could they still have won the basketball game? Yes, of course. Up by 5 with 5.5 left. You still should win. And there were a number of other mistakes that still cost the Warriors from that moment on. But that Podziemski mistake which kind of was a mistake that compounded itself based on what happened earlier. Not great. And that's what Steve Kerr was talking about post-game. Here is the Warriors head coach specifically on Podziemski's game.
So Pod's a hell of a player, but he needs to, and I've told him this, he needs to be a smart player. He's one of our guys who's capable of making really good decisions. He had a lob when we were up 12 in the late second quarter that was frankly insane. It's a 5-on-4. You just keep hitting singles, throw the ball to the open guy. He had the same play last week against Brooklyn where he tried to throw a lob over his shoulder. He cannot be that guy, and he can't foul jump shooters. So I love Brandon. He's a hell of a player. He's got a hell of a future ahead of him. But I hope he watches this clip right now of me talking because he needs to hear it. He's got to be a smart, tough, great decision maker, and he's very capable of it, but that's his next step.
Wow. Okay. I mean, you could sense it. You could sense Steve Kerr's frustration through the nearly the 4-minute chunk of Steve Kerr that we heard. He called out and he didn't name names. I think we have an idea who he's talking about. He called out his players for not hitting singles and taking big swings, trying to go for the home runs. And he said, this league is unforgiving if you think you can just do whatever the hell you want and try to get on a highlight reel and show how good of a player that you are. Just make the simple play. And you could feel the frustration bubbling up there from Steve Kerr. But that sound clip, that sound bite, Steve Kerr on Brandon Podziemski, I mean, I'm not sure when the last time I heard Steve Kerr sound that frustrated, honestly. And we're talking about a head coach of a basketball team who largely for the last 2 seasons has been coaching a basketball team that has been nothing but frustrating. Like, after the Warriors won the championship in 2022, everything since then has been tough and not easy and rough, and not just for on-the-court basketball stuff, but off-the-court basketball stuff. Right there was the Draymond, Jordan Poole stuff, which lingered the entire season to the point where Steph Curry, talking about a Game 7 postseason game, saying, don't get on this bus if you're not with us. For a Game 7 of a postseason series. That's how rough that year was. And then last year, where you have everything bubbling up with Klay Thompson and his future with the Warriors and how rough that was. And then Draymond Green getting suspended twice and then getting ejected in a game early in Orlando where Steph Curry is crying on the court. Like, we're talking about nothing short of the most frustrating experiences in a lot of these guys' lives over the last 2 years. And I don't think Steve Kerr ever sounded like that. Maybe a couple of moments when talking about Draymond last year, but what he was saying there about Brandon Podziemski, we got to listen to it again. Here's Steve Kerr again on Brandon Podziemski, and his not just his play tonight. Like, this is not just a tonight comment from Steve Kerr. If this is just the tonight thing, Steve Kerr does not sound like this about Brandon Podziemski. Here, if you missed it, you want to hear it again, here is Steve Kerr on Brandon Podziemski overall recently as a basketball player.
So Pod's a hell of a player, but he needs to, and I've told him this, he needs to be a smart player. He's one of our guys who's capable of making really good decisions. He had a lob when we were up 12 in the late second quarter that was frankly insane. It's a 5-on-4. You just keep hitting singles, throw the ball to the open guy. He had the same play last week against Brooklyn where he tried to throw a lob over his shoulder. He cannot be that guy. And he can't foul jump shooters. So I love Brandon. He's a hell of a player. He's got a hell of a future ahead of him. But I hope he watches this clip right now of me talking because he needs to hear it. He's got to be a smart, tough, great decision maker, and he's very capable of it, but that's his next step.
I mean, one, you can just hear it based on his tone, and you hear him pounding on the table. He has got to be a smart basketball player. Like, when Steve is the most calm and down-to-earth guy, down-to-earth coach and chill, and he very rarely raises his voice, and when he does, it's generally about referees and at his own players. And he might, sound like that, say things like that, have that kind of tone and sternness behind closed doors when he's talking to his players in the locker room. In fact, I'm sure he does. It's been known that he and Draymond have gotten into shouting matches often. But when he takes the podium, he's generally very buttoned up, unless in rare instances it's about the officials. And he was a little upset about the officiating tonight as well. That's one thing, like the general tone and the general aggressiveness with his words. But it's another to call out a player publicly like that. And I'm seeing it right now in the Comcast Business text line. The 650, has Steve ever publicly criticized a player before? Not often. It doesn't seem like it. I mean, again, there was the Draymond moments last year. I can recall when he got ejected early in the game against Orlando, the one where Steph was tearing up on the court, because that was after he came back from multiple suspensions, and we're wondering, has Draymond changed? And is he going to become this new player, and is he going to keep his emotions in check? And then he gets ejected early in Orlando, and Steph Curry's on the court with tears welling up in his eyes. And then I think I recall Steve Kerr postgame saying something along the lines of, that was unforgivable, we can't have that, something along those lines. But that felt more like disappointment than frustration. Like, that felt more like a parent saying, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. This feels like Steve Kerr's mad. Feels like he's angry. Another text here on the Comcast Business text line. The 262, I don't know if I've heard a coach describe a play as, quote, frankly insane. Yeah, maybe some coaches have, but definitely not Steve Kerr. Not coaches cut from the Steve Kerr cloth. And I brought up that play that he's talking about. 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the second quarter. Warriors leading by 10. And it actually came off of a Brandon Podziemski steal. Made a nice play on defense. Dribbles the ball up the court. Denver is back defensively. He dribbles into a double team just inside the three-point arc straight on. He's got Julian Strawther to his right and Christian Brown kind of right in front of him. He doesn't really have anywhere to go. Picks up the dribble. And with his right hand, he switches it back into his left after he's running right, turns quickly left and tries to throw a lob over the top of the defense to Trace Jackson-Davis, who might have been able to catch it if it got there. Jamal Murray is kind of hanging out under the basket, might have been able to break it up, but doesn't even come close to getting over the top of Christian Brown. And it's an easy turnover, and Denver gets a fast break bucket the other way, because who's back on the other end of the court? It's Nikola Jokic. And I want to watch this play again, because I want to see if I can see Steve Kerr's reaction when this happens. Where's Steve? He's sitting down on the bench. Turnover happens, and Steve Kerr. Okay, so Brandon Podziemski commits the turnover, and I guess before I keep going, I want to remind you guys of something here. But this Podziemski play is a gold mine in terms of bench reaction. But at first, I wanted to remind you that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. For a low-rate auto loan, apply online or just ask for First NorCal financing at the dealer. So this play, after the turnover happens, Podziemski, a wild decision to try to throw a fast break lob, although not really fast break, because 4 Nuggets were back. And it's a situation where you have an advantage, right? You should be able to get a good look, because Nikola Jokic is literally cherry picking. Like, he catches the pass off the turnover, and he's still inside of the paint. Like, that's how far back he was. He never got back defensively. You have an advantage. If you are just a little bit patient, you should get a wide open look. And it might be a Steph Curry open 3, right? I guess Steph Curry was on the court, but it might be a Buddy Hield open 3, right? You have good shooters out there. It might be an open 3. It might be a layup. It might be just a good shot in general. Steve Kerr clearly frustrated and upset. As Nikola Jokic catches the pass, as he's standing inside the paint still, no one else is even on that half of the court besides Jokic. Steve Kerr is sitting down on the bench, hands crossed in his lap, and his head is straight down, staring at the ground. Feels like this loss has, not broken Steve Kerr, but something's happened. Something's happened here. And the 5 straight losses, all clutch games. You have a blown 18-point lead. You have a blown 17-point lead. You had tough, close losses to Oklahoma City and Phoenix, really good teams. One of them was when you were without Stephen Curry. Those two are okay. Like, yeah, you'd like to play better on the stretch and win those games. But this one and that San Antonio one and that Brooklyn one, yikes, that's rough. And that's enough to drive a coach crazy. And Steve Kerr sounds like a coach that's going crazy right now. I mean, we heard the Podziemski one. There was others. How about his team being too worried about getting on a highlight reel? Here's Steve Kerr on that.
I think what happened was, I looked at the stat sheet, 4 minutes left in the second quarter. We had 18 assists and 1 turnover. We might have had one more for a shot clock violation, but only 1 miscue because we were hitting singles. And then we turned it over 3 or 4 times in the last few minutes of the first half and gave up a 12-point lead because we tried to hit home runs. And this league is unforgiving. If you think you're going to, get on a highlight reel, show everybody, what a special play you can make. It's going to be a turnover. We got to hit singles. We got to make simple decisions, and when we do that, we're really good. But when we try too hard, try to make plays on our own, we get into trouble, and that's why we ended up with 15 turnovers in a game where we had 1 through 20 minutes of the game. So I didn't feel like they were forced by the defense either. No offense to Denver. But I'm going to look at those turnovers, and I might see 1 or 2, but almost all of them are unforced. And so, part of being a good team is decision-making. It can't just be about talent or whether you make shots or not. It's got to be about decision-making. We have to become a better decision-making team. That's what's frustrating right now is poor decisions are leading to poor possessions, which is leading to this losing streak. So that's what's happening.
I mean, and he's spot on, and that's where you could feel some of the frustration bubbling up, and then it came out completely when he was asked about Brandon Podziemski. And this is not. I don't want this to be like a single out and pile on Brandon Podziemski moment, because there is a lot of other Warriors who are guilty of the same exact thing. You know who led the Warriors in turnovers tonight? The Warriors had 15 turnovers as a team, 14 committed by individual players. There was the 1 shot clock violation that technically does not go to a single player. It goes to the team turnover category. 14 turnovers attributed to players tonight. 1 player committed 5 of them. You know who that is? It's Steph Curry. Steph Curry is guilty of this same exact stuff. Now, for Steph, of course, he's a 2-time MVP. He's won 4 championships. He's one of the 10 greatest players to ever play this game of basketball. But he has a turnover problem. He has a history of at times being a little bit careless and not making smart decisions and maybe trying to hit a home run when you can hit a single just as easily or much easier. And some of it maybe not even that. Maybe it's not even like the home run versus the single mentality for Steph. It's just, sometimes instead of throwing a 2-handed pass, throw a 1-handed pass, and it's wayward and goes out of bounds. Like we all remember, of course, Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals, the behind-the-back pass to Klay along the right wing when he could have just, turned a little bit and 2-handed chest pass. Like that is, there's so much more to the story of Steph Curry, of course. But, this is a Steph Curry problem, too. One guy who's oftentimes guilty of this, no turnovers tonight for Jonathan Kuminga. He had the bad decision to go right at Nikola Jokic once he didn't get past him, try to put up a shot with 35 seconds left. Did not work, got that shot blocked. But Kuminga oftentimes is guilty of, I think, that what Steve Kerr's talking about. A little more concerned about getting on a highlight reel than making the smart, simple play, hitting a single instead of hitting a home run. I don't think Kuminga was guilty of that much tonight, but he has been in the past. This is not just a Podziemski thing, right? This is kind of team-wide for the Golden State Warriors, and it has been for a while. Podziemski is just the one that I think is drawing the ire of Steve Kerr the most right now. Obviously, the criticism is earned because he has not played very well, and it's one thing, again, this goes back to what we're talking about earlier. It's one thing if you're just not making shots. Like, if you're just not making shots, it's basketball. Sometimes you don't, and you might have down years. You might have down months. You might have down stretches. You might have a down 2 years. But if you are still doing all the other things right, of course, you'd rather make shots than not. But oftentimes, the numbers, the points, the field goal percentage, it might not matter a ton if you're doing everything else right. And this is oftentimes how I like to evaluate young players. Not by just looking at the box score, and of course, it's so much deeper than that. Not just looking at points per game averages, and not looking about how many steals they have, and are they deflecting passes, or like, obviously a lot of that is valuable, but it's every time they are involved in the play, are they making the right decision? And obviously that's so much harder to figure out, and it takes a lot of attention to detail, but you could track it if you're watching the single player. And I thought Jonathan Kuminga, at least in the first half, he made the right decision when the ball was in his hands almost every single time. How many times have we screamed on here about Kuminga? Don't settle for the three. You're wide open. Take a dribble, make it a 15-footer. He did that like 3 times tonight, and he banked it in off the glass. Oh my, he looked like Tim Duncan using the backboard. How often do you see a player using the backboard? Podziemski did it like 2 times in the first half, maybe 3, and it was off of open three-pointer looks from the left wing. He said, you know what? I'm not a great three-point shooter. I'm going to take a dribble, get a jump stop, be in a rhythm, and hit it off the glass, and he hit it. Other times, passing up a 3 to go to the hoop. A wide open lane, dribbled past Jamal Murray a couple of times, and dunked it. Took an open corner 3. Okay, JK, those are the ones to take, right? Take the open corner 3. Don't take the open straight on or right wing 3. Like, that's a harder, more difficult shot. If you got the lane, drive in off that opening. But an open corner 3, let it rip. Yeah, and he hit it, and it looked smooth. It was pure. It was a swish. I thought Kuminga made the right decision with the ball in his hands almost every single time in the first half. And I don't care about the points. He finished with 19, 9 of 18 from the field. He was nowhere near as efficient in the second half as in the first, and that is a problem in and of itself. The Warriors in general in second halves have not been as good as they have been in first halves, and the problem only gets greater in the fourth quarter. But I'm not looking at the points. I'm not looking at the field goal attempts and if he's shooting a great percentage. I am more concerned, is he making the right decision every time? As far as I'm concerned, you can have a great game if you go 0 for 7 from the field. If all of those 7 attempts were the right decisions to make in those moments, and you made the right decision every other time you did not shoot the ball, you swung the ball to the corner for an open man, you drove and you dished to a cutting Looney for an easy lay-in. You passed up the open 3 and drove instead, but you happened to miss the shot. A makeable shot, a good shot, but you missed it. Okay, it's whatever. The shots will fall, but are you making the right decisions? And Steve Kerr, this, I think, gets to everything that you just heard Steve Kerr say. It's not about, and this gets to Podziemski as well, it's not always about are you making the shots. It's just, are you making the right decision more often than not when you have the ball in your hands? And I think right now, as far as Podziemski goes, Steve Kerr would say no, absolutely not. I think oftentimes this year, when it comes to Kuminga, he would say no, Kuminga has not. I thought tonight, at least in the first half, it was the different story. One of the best halves Kuminga's played, in my mind. And I'm not just saying that. I really believe it. I thought Kuminga was awesome in the first half. 19 points for Jonathan Kuminga in this basketball game. In the first half, he had 13 on 6 of 9 from the field. Like, Kuminga was great in the first half. Now, you'd like to see that continue into the second half, no doubt. And if it did, the Warriors probably win this basketball game. But we get so hung up on the stats, and is someone averaging 15 points a game? Oh, is he shooting 50% from the field, 40% from deep? Oh, that's a big deal, right? And true, it is. Like Steph going for 50, 40, 90 every year, that's obviously valuable, and it means a lot. But are you making the right decision every time? It's what made Podziemski such a valuable player last year. Because even if he wasn't scoring double figures, and even if he wasn't shooting great from downtown, he was making the right decisions often. And, you know, there were rough moments, no doubt, as there always are, especially for a young player. But what has changed is, 1, the shot isn't falling, and 2, he's no longer making those right decisions more often than not. And tonight was a prime example of that. And again, let's hear it one more time. Steve Kerr on Brandon Podziemski and what he's seen from the second-year player lately.
So Pod's a hell of a player, but he needs to, and I've told him this, he needs to be a smart player. He's one of our guys who's capable of making really good decisions. He had a lob when we were up 12 in the late second quarter that was frankly insane. It's a 5-on-4. You just keep hitting singles, throw the ball to the open guy. He had the same play last week against Brooklyn where he tried to throw a lob over his shoulder. He cannot be that guy. And he can't foul jump shooters. So I love Brandon. He's a hell of a player. He's got a hell of a future ahead of him. But I hope he watches this clip right now of me talking because he needs to hear it. He's got to be a smart, tough, great decision maker, and he's very capable of it, but that's his next step.
And he is very capable of it. I mean, we saw it for long stretches last year as a rookie. And we have not seen it lately from Brandon Podziemski. And that's Steve Kerr postgame tonight. Not terribly animated, but for a guy who's normally very measured, especially when he speaks publicly to the media, that is almost as animated as you see Steve Kerr get. Like I'll put it this way. That's like as animated as we see Steve Kerr when he's talking about stuff on the basketball court, like basketball plays and a basketball player and the kind of player that he is. Again, like we've heard Steve Kerr. One, he's teared up talking about like issues that our country has, right? Like that's an entirely separate thing. He's been very stern when talking about Draymond Green and his issues specifically last year. Like that doesn't have to do with the basketball player. That has to do with the person. And that's different. This was Steve Kerr talking purely about the basketball player, and I'm not so sure in that regard we've heard Steve Kerr talk like that in a really, really long time. The 510 chimes in and does make a good point on the Comcast Business text line. I want to see crunch time stats. Kuminga is not a crunch time player at this point in his career. You won't get an argument from me there, at least not in every situation. I think there are moments where he absolutely fits and works. In the fourth quarter, Kuminga, 5 minutes, he was 1 for 4 from the field, 2 points. Not great, but also when you look at what other players did, it wasn't great either. I mean, Wiggins did not even attempt a field goal in the final 6:20. Did not attempt a field goal in the fourth quarter. Buddy Hield attempted one shot. It was the wide open 3 from the right wing. No points for Hield in the fourth quarter. Like, this is not just a Kuminga thing. It is a multi-pronged thing for the Golden State Warriors, and it's team-wide. They're not executing down the stretch. They're not playing good basketball in the fourth quarter, and it has now cost them 3 of their last 5 games. You have a 17-point lead, an 18-point lead. That was against San Antonio and against Brooklyn late in the third quarter. You lose both those games. You have an 11-point lead with 6:10 to go in this one, and you lose that one. It's not great. And the Warriors, again, they were without Draymond Green tonight, which obviously makes it an impact, makes a difference. You think that they would have been able to limit Nikola Jokic a little bit more if Draymond Green was playing? Yes, absolutely. I think so. But, that's what happens when you're trotting out one of the older groups of players. You're trotting out one of the older 2 most important players in the league. Like, that's what happens. You're not going to have those guys available every single night. I mean, Steph Curry was held out a couple of games ago with a loss to Oklahoma City. Draymond Green out tonight. Steph already missed 3 games before that. Draymond Green, who knows, might miss more games than just tonight as well. Like, that's the reality of the Warriors situation. And it's not an excuse. Every team's dealing with injuries. Nikola Jokic, not injury related. He missed 10 games already this year. Aaron Gordon missed 10 games. Jokic missed games, maybe not 10, but it was up there because of the birth of his son. And congratulations to the Jokic on welcoming in a baby boy. But every team is going through stuff where they don't have their players. So just saying they don't have Draymond, I mean, that's not an excuse. It can't be an excuse. The Warriors had this game. They led by 11 with 6:10 to go in the fourth quarter. And they let this one slip away, much like they let the game in San Antonio slip away, and they let the game at home against Brooklyn slip away. It's just what the Warriors are right now, and it's why Steve Kerr is so frustrated. I also think there's something that we got to keep track of as long as Draymond Green is out. If the Warriors stick with this starting lineup, again, they went with Steph Curry, Brandon Podziemski, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Kevon Looney, not Trace Jackson Davis. Part of what the Warriors tried to figure out last year was, can Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins coexist in the same unit together? And they started them together often last year, specifically when Draymond was out, because Draymond's absence allowed Kuminga to play a lot of 4 alongside Wiggins at the 3. Results last year were not great. They were even worse this year when it was Wiggins at the 2, Kuminga at the 3, Draymond at the 4, and Trace Jackson Davis at the 5, because the obvious problem there alongside Steph at point guard was you just don't have enough shooting. And Kuminga has proven consistently he's better as a 4 than a 3, and so that lineup did not work, where Wiggins was 2 and Kuminga was 3. They quickly moved away from that. Wiggins stayed in the lineup but would move to the 3, and Kuminga went to the bench. Now Kuminga started tonight alongside Wiggins, but Kuminga was at the 4, which is a much better spot for him. But how did that work? Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins played 24 minutes together. The total number was Wiggins played 31 and Kuminga played 29. So the majority of their minutes were together. 24 minutes on the court together. They were a minus 13 in those 24 minutes. Now, it's one game. It's a very small sample, but not great. It started okay. That group did. That group was +2 in the first quarter. They were -2 in the first half. The big stretch, Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins in 5 minutes and 4 seconds on the court together in the fourth quarter, a -10. And that's not necessarily specifically on Wiggins and Kuminga, right? That's when just everything went wrong. It was the 11-0 run to close the game, right? -10 on the court together in 5 minutes in the fourth. That all adds up to the Warriors. When Kuminga and Wiggins shared the floor over 24 minutes, they were a -13. The Nuggets outscored the Warriors by 13 points. I think we're seeing maybe the potential for a couple of changes in the starting lineup for the Warriors going forward, because based on how Steve Kerr reacted to Brandon Podziemski's game tonight, it might mean Podziemski no longer starts. And based on how Moses Moody played tonight, I mean, we spend so much time talking about the negatives. Moses Moody tonight was awesome, specifically in the second half. All 13 of his points in the second half. And if it was not for Moody in the second half, I mean, the Warriors might lose this game by 20 points, because the game was getting away from them in the third quarter and going into the fourth. And Moses Moody, helped bring the Warriors back. Moses Moody and GP2. Gary Payton II was awesome in this game as well. Moody and GP2 combined for 24 points in 34 minutes. They were 9 for 16 from the field. They were 3 from 8 from downtown. You get that from Moody and GP2 every single night, and you are going to win a lot of football games. Or basketball games, excuse me. We got ESPN on here in the studio, and they're showing football highlights. You're going to win a lot of basketball games if you get 24 combined points from Moody and GP2. You just expect to get a little bit more from Andrew Wiggins and a little bit more from Brandon Podziemski, and maybe Steph Curry to make a couple more shots, shoot a little higher efficiency, and you're going to win those basketball games. You got so much from Moody and GP2, and maybe we see Moses Moody in the starting lineup over Brandon Podziemski. That feels like a more prototypical fit, right? Moses Moody is the more prototypical 2-guard than Brandon Podziemski. And I also think the reason why we might see that is because Brandon Podziemski kind of has to be the number 2 ball handler on this team. And that's what's sinking the Warriors right now, too. When your secondary ball handler, who has to play a lot of the non-Steph minutes, is making some of the decisions that Podziemski is making right now, it's hard, because who else is going to handle the ball for you? Are you going to ask, specifically tonight without Draymond, are you going to ask Kyle Anderson to be your point forward for all of the non-Steph minutes? Are you going to trust Buddy Hield to do that? I don't know who else you can even ask to do it for. Like who you can even ask to do it. So that's what makes, I think, the Moody inclusion in the starting lineup make a lot more sense. I was not shocked at all by the Kevon Looney inclusion tonight because you're without Draymond and you're going up against Nikola Jokic. You need a little bit more size and strength down low, and Looney provides that. But also, I mean, we can have a talk about Trayce Jackson-Davis. The man, if he's not dunking the basketball, he is really struggling around the rim. How about this? Worst layup field goal percentage. So field goal percentage on layups so far this season, a minimum of 30 attempts. Trayce Jackson-Davis has the 6th worst percent in the NBA. 6th worst, and he's behind a couple of, like, not forwards, not power forwards, not centers. Dylan Brooks is worse. Josh Okogie is worse. Those are smaller guys fighting against, the big guys down low. Trayce Jackson-Davis has been the Warriors starting center basically all season. He is shooting on what the NBA defines layups, 40.6%, 26 for 64. And I counted, I wasn't watching this extremely closely, I counted at least 2 misses around the rim for Trayce Jackson-Davis today. Like, that's also, I think, a reason why Steve Kerr may be going away from Trayce Jackson-Davis a little bit. Like, that's an issue. If you are going to be on the court with Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins and who knows who the 2 guards are going to be, and you can't finish around the rim unless you're dunking the basketball, that's an issue. That is a major issue that Trayce Jackson-Davis needs to work through. Otherwise, his inclusion in those important lineups might not be making a lot of sense going forward. He has to take care of the easy ones, and he has not been so far this year. And it's crazy because he started the year, 12 for 12 on field goals? They just happen to almost all be dunks. He's good on dunks. I mean, who isn't good on dunks? But when he's trying a little baby hook or a little push shot from a couple of feet out, or he's spinning off his right shoulder with his left hand, it's not great. A little over 40%, 26 for 64. Coming into tonight, Trayce Jackson-Davis on layups, what the NBA defines as layups. That is not good for Trayce Jackson-Davis. Okay, couple minutes here left with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Mark Randy with you, trying to put the finishing touches on what was another rough Warriors loss, 119-115, the final score. 5 straight losses. The Warriors now 12-8. I will get to crashing the boards in just a second because I got a victory lap something. That's coming up in just a little bit. But first, we've been so distracted by what happened on the court and the Warriors blowing another fourth quarter lead that we haven't really talked about what this loss means for the NBA Cup. Because as we know, the Warriors have already clinched West Group C. They did that when they won in New Orleans. It was a couple of weeks ago now. Feels like a long time ago. That was the Warriors' last win, by the way. 5 straight losses since then. That's a little depressing. But the Warriors, despite the loss, already had clinched a spot in the quarterfinals, what the NBA is calling the knockout stage, the knockout round. The Rockets lost today, which is what the Warriors needed. Needed is maybe not the right word. The Warriors could have clinched a home game in the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup, even if the Rockets had won. But I think you might have had the preferable matchup. The Rockets lost, which meant if the Warriors won tonight, they would have hosted Clay and the Mavericks in the NBA Cup quarterfinals. But because the Warriors lost, now they will travel to Houston in the quarterfinals, and that game will be on Wednesday, December 11th. So a week from tomorrow, 8 days from now, Warriors and Rockets in Houston. Wednesday, the 11th of December in the NBA Cup quarterfinals. Winner of that game advances to the semifinals, which will take place in Vegas, and they'll play the winner of Mavs Thunder. That game is in Oklahoma City. So it's Houston and Warriors, Houston and Golden State in Houston, Mavs and Thunder in Oklahoma City. Winner of those 2 games advance to Vegas to play each other in the semifinals. Winner of that game, of course, goes to the finals, and they will take on the winner of whoever comes out of the eastern half of this bracket. But that's what happened to the Warriors today. Because they lost tonight, they have to go to Houston. If they had won tonight, they would have hosted Dallas. Houston, maybe not the worst opponent for the Warriors. I'd probably rather play Houston than Oklahoma City, but Houston quietly is having a really, really good season so far this year. Houston is now 15-7, and they are second place in the West behind Oklahoma City, who's 16-5. The Warriors have now fallen to 12-8 as they've lost 5 games in a row. Okay, now time for a victory lap because it is time for Crashing the Boards, which is brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. I told you pregame, if you listen to me on Warriors Live, I'm making a habit of making you money on our locks of the day. Again, it was our Take It to the Bank prediction. I told you bet Kevon Looney's over for rebounds. It was set at 6.5 earlier in the day. I told you I'd bet it all the way up to double digits. He finished with 11 rebounds tonight. Kevon Looney is a rebounding machine, and he made me some easy money tonight. I hope he made you some money as well. Kevon Looney, 11 rebounds tonight. He was crashing the boards often. That is Crashing the Boards, which is brought to you by the Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. Thanks as always to Chilton. Kevon Looney, a very, very well-earned honor. Crashing the Boards, again, brought to you by Chilton Auto Body. 11 rebounds, led all Warriors, and in fact, led all players. Jokic had 10, Aaron Gordon had 9, but it was Kevon Looney with 11 rebounds tonight. He played, 24 minutes, so just a little tick under a rebound every 2 minutes, which is right near his season average. Kevon Looney, Mr. Consistent when it comes to rebounds. Okay, that's all the time we got for here on Warriors Wrap-Up tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. Wish it was under better circumstances than a Warriors win, but they've now lost 5 consecutive games, and they're 12-8 on the season. Up next for the Golden State Warriors, they return home on Thursday. They take on those same Houston Rockets, who they will play again a week from tomorrow, so a couple of games against the Rockets in rapid succession. In fact, how about these next 4 games? Houston at home, Minnesota at home, Minnesota at home, Houston on the road. You got 4 games coming up against 2 teams. Houston, Minnesota, Minnesota, Houston. That's what the Warriors have coming up in their next 4 games. We'll be back Thursday. Warriors, Rockets, Houston. That is at 7. Pre-game coverage begins at 6. Same story on Friday when the Warriors take on the T-Wolves. All right, that's all the time I got for you tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Chris O'Connell and for my guy Cam Williams, my name is Mark Graney signing off. Thanks so much for listening. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow when, by the way, Steve Kerr will join Willard and Dibbs. I'll be on filling in for Dibbs tomorrow, so that should be a lot of fun. I'll talk to you then. But Steve Kerr coming on at 5 tomorrow. Based on what you heard from Steve Kerr tonight, you are not going to want to miss what Steve Kerr is going to have to say tomorrow on Willard and Dibbs at 5 here on 95.7 The Game. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Mark Randy signing off. We'll talk tomorrow here on 95.7 The Game. Have a good night.